Afternoon. Thanks for joining the session. And let me just find the machine here. Do we have a machine? Or
Yes, that's the machine.
Oh, that is my machine.
Yes, green for forward and red for backward.
Oh, thank you very much. We're only going forward, of course. We're very positive. So the climate change discussion in Europe, light at the end of the tunnel, of the Alarmist Tunnel, question mark. So we are going to look at this subject, the old continent. How is the climate discussion going there? And I can already say it is as hotly debated as here. And there are some extreme positions, and a lot of the politicians, governments, they are on one side. It's a very extreme side, the IPCC side. And just a few weeks ago, I actually found this piece of news here that the European Union intends to spend 20% of its entire budget on climate-related issues. This is a tremendous amount of money, and that is now for the next few years. And then there's a number quoted here, 180 billion, not million, euros, which is $200 billion. So there's a lot of money here, and I think it's time that the science now comes back to reason, and this is why a lot of scientists, I think, come back to the discussion, because it's really a very important issue. Now there's another development here. Some activists are beginning to question the value of big companies. Now this is just an example here, Shell. They are saying that it's the reserves, of course, oil and gas reserves, that not all of this could be produced, and therefore the value of these companies would be inflated, and that would have immediate effects at the stock market. So I think it's really important that we get the science now right, as it's about really substantial issues. Keep calm and check the facts. That's something that after the claim the science is settled, don't bother looking at it. No, we really have to keep checking the facts, and we come to astonishing results. I jumped into the arena just 3 years ago, and maybe 5 years ago, with a research to that, together with my co-author Fritz Fahrenhold. He used to be CEO of a renewables energy company in Germany. So not very suspicious background. So he and I consider myself also to be an environmentalist. We wrote this book, The Neglected Sun. In Germany it came out 2012, last year in English. And that caused quite a bit of trouble in Germany initially. And we immediately became a target by the climate establishment. So maybe you know some of these scientists. This is Mojib Latif from the University of Kiel in Germany. And he said, when reading the book as a scientist, my hair stands on end. This is a pseudo-scientific treatise. Yeah? Then we had Hartmut Grassel. He is the former director of the World Meteorological Organization, Geneva. Well, you know, I don't really want to comment on this rubbish, he said. And we had a modeler, Jochen Marotzke from Hamburg, from the Meteorological Institute, director. The book authors have read a lot but understood very little. So great compliments just a week after, or even a week before publication of this book. That set the scene. Now, the first gentleman here, Mojib Latif, he recently was in Baltimore. And there was not a lot of publicity in Germany about that, but we found his presentation on the internet. And look at what he writes in the conclusions, slide 30. This raises questions about the average climate sensitivity of the IPCC model. So very quietly, he now, in a different continent, not at home, of course, he says, well, maybe it's not all right with these models. Climate sensitivity, the power, the warming power that CO2 is attributed by doubling the CO2 value. Now, after the book, we were invited by a group of parliamentarians from the European Parliament. So we went to Strasbourg, and these parliamentarians were very interested in hearing, I would say, of course, a more balanced view of the climate issue. And we did not get major criticism there, but since then it went quiet. So this is one of the problems, that if you highlight problems, then the other side, if it's valid criticism, doesn't talk to you, they just ignore you. And this is maybe something which we have to think about, how we get the discussion going, how we can force maybe the other side to discuss. Then later that year, 2012, we had this music professor from Austria, from the University of Graz, an Australian music professor, and he had on an official university website, he had a death threat. Well, not sure. At least he said death penalty is the right measure for climate skeptics. We see we are still all alive here, but that was his plan. And after a little turmoil on the internet, the university said, don't do this. And then he took it off, and he's still working for that university, even though he behaves a little bit strangely here. Then we have a very prominent climate scientist, Hans von Storch. And so he is somewhere in the middle of the discussion, I would say, between IPCC and maybe our view here, the NIPCC view. And he was asked by a newspaper, so we have now had 17 years of pause in warming. How much longer has this got to get on before you get nervous? And then he said, well, another 10 years of no warming, and then I would question that the CO2 is really the most important factor in the models. So we could now, of course, just sit back and wait for another 10 years, or we could already look at the issue. But this is a nice date to put it into your calendar, in April 2023. Yeah? If there is still no warming, then Mr. Storch is on our side. Professor Storch, we should say. So Germany, and I'm from Germany, geologist, contributes a lot to the climate alarmism. And we have a central institute that is paid for doing this. It's the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research. It's also called PIC. Yeah? So there is, I don't know, 300 people paid to put out new alarmist research and press releases. And here we have got a founder, Friedrich Wilhelm Gerstengabe. Recently I had a chance to have a discussion with him in Berlin during a presentation. And I don't know, he didn't convince me, and I think all the other geologists who were in the room also, they were not impressed, but okay, that was just geologists. Stefan Ramsdorff in the middle, we deal with his research once per month when he has a new press release out or a new paper, and I think Anthony Watts on What's Up with that is also dealing with those papers. Yeah. Then we have Hans-Joachim Schellenhuber. He basically wants to take power away from the democratic forces and go for a centralist regime to solve the climate crisis, in his opinion. So this nice institute is a bit of a problem, I think, when it comes to open discussion and solid science. In Germany, we need this kind of climate alarmism because we are in the middle of an energy transition. It's a very chaotic, very expensive process, and as a result, the electricity prices have doubled in the last 12 years. People have not really started complaining about it, just very subtly, because they think if we pay more, then the climate catastrophe will not come to Germany. But a lot of things have actually happened in the course of this energy transition. Gas, natural gas, which is quite clean hydrocarbon, the power plants are not commercial. So it's not really used in big scale to create electricity. Coal, our coal consumption has increased, not decreased, because of this energy transition. And the nuclear power was switched off because our chancellor feared that a tsunami could hit Germany and we could have a disaster. Yeah? Right, so this is why we need in Germany this climate alarmism. Otherwise, the population would start questioning these increases in prices. Now, we also have a EPA. It's called Umweltbundesamt in Germany, short UBA, and it's not UBS, that's a mistake, UBA. And that was in May last year. They put out a nice, colorful brochure, and this brochure included a chapter which had a blacklist of skeptical scientists, named blacklist, and I was also on there as quite a few of my fellow scientists. So yeah, thank you. And exactly, so I saw it as an honor. I'll keep this booklet, of course, on my bookshelf, and in 10 years' time I'll pull it out and say, yeah, look, I told you so. No? The funny thing was, initially there were no authors mentioned in this booklet. And then there was some criticism. How can you criticize other scientists and then you don't say who you are? And then very quickly they found 5 names which they put in there. And finally there was not a single climate scientist among these authors. So it's a bit dodgy, and there might have been some people written which are not on the list, but who knows? You know? There was also even criticism by the television at the time, so which was nice for a change. And then I was called by Austrian television to participate in a discussion round after the book, of course. And then here's a very nice movie. If you get hold of this, this is Climate Crimes. And these are crimes, well, it is the destruction of the environment because they want to save the climate. So it's like building huge hydro dams in the jungle and then deforesting them and sending native people away. It's about palm oil and lots of things. So it's really a movie I can highly recommend. There's a German version, but meanwhile there's also an English one. So that was discussion about that one. And then just last Christmas, before Christmas, I was called by Euronews if I can help in a discussion, and there was a member of the European Parliament from the Green Party from Holland, and also Christina Figueres, and we had not a discussion, I would say, and anyway, I think it was also Europe waking up that there is another opinion, yeah? And maybe it's worth discussing it. That was in the framework of the COP19 meeting in Warsaw. There have been some really encouraging movements, and I'm quite hopeful that we are on a good trend in Europe. Marcel Kroc, he runs the Stadtfund Klimat. He's very much involved in the discussion. He also has a climate dialogue website, and he had a blog article here where he showed that even the Dutch government, the government of the Netherlands, told the IPCC, stop concentrating just on CO2 and all these anthropogenic mechanisms, also include much more natural variability. And I think this is a really big help here by the Netherlands. We need more governments really making productive proposals here and how we can come out of that one-way street where we are in. Then another really interesting event here was a Dutch scientist, Richard Toll. He withdrew from the IPCC because he said the report has become too alarmist. So that's really positive in Europe. Then the Research Council of Norway has concluded a report, and there was a press release January 2013, and basically they have recalculated climate sensitivity, and they came to a value of 1.9 degrees centigrade, which is far away from the 3 degrees that the IPCC claim, and very close to the 1.5 we have in our book, and that quite a few of our fellow scientists here are assuming. Then we have the Austrian Central Institution for Meteorology, and on their website they have this diagram here, which clearly shows that the real temperature is far below than the modeled temperatures, and they openly say that the climate sensitivity is probably too high, which is really good for such an organization. Sea level, as I see the stop sign here, skip over this, there has been a European union-funded project, and this came out and said, yes, the sea level rise is less severe than we actually thought. This, of course, did not make it into the IPCC report, but there are scientists which have a more balanced view, and we need to encourage them to do more. I would like to finish with this quote from Karl Popper. Whenever a theory appears to you as the only possible one, take this as a sign that you have neither understood the theory nor the problem which it was intended to solve. Thank you.